Breaking news, Police Chief Ed Flynn calls out criminals after 2 children are shot.
Remorseless, reckless criminals in possession of high-quality firearms, shooting at each other, and they don't care who they hit.
Community leaders joined the chief and the mayor in the neighborhood where the children were shot.
Understandably, people living in that neighborhood are very upset. This is a situation of violence where we have children involved, innocent people, and Mayor Barrett says people in that neighborhood, in that low-income area, deserve to have a quality life. There are a lot of good, decent people in that area, and they deserve to not have to deal with random gunshots.
Chief Flynn very passionate, as is always the case, in talking about this shooting and, frankly, calling out the gunmen, saying simply they are not men, simply because of the fact that they are highly armed criminals.
And right now we have a sound from a reverend who was at today's news conference.
And now today, we're here again, a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old being caught in the crossfire of indiscriminate shooting. And every citizen of goodwill, of decency, of good conscience should be enraged and should get engaged with any kind of activity that will cease this kind of violence that visits us too often. And so I'm here with my colleague Pastor McVicker, with the chief, with the mayor, to say that we support the police department and we support all those who are taking the stand that they can bring an end to this scourge of violence so that these neighborhoods can be safe for our children to play, that our seniors can sit on their porch unmolested, and that people can have sustainable quality life that can be sustained with civil order.
That is Reverend Don Butler from Tabernacle Community Church talking about another incident that we have had to talk about far too many times.
Let's go to Shannon Sims. She attended that news conference and has more on what the chief had to say. Shannon?
Mike and Carol, some disturbing details from Chief Flynn as he just wrapped up that news conference. The first good news in this is that a 39-year-old man has been arrested. Now, the details that unfolded last night are extremely disturbing. The chief is telling us that the 39-year-old man got into some altercation with someone, drove behind the alley. In his van, he had 7 kids, and 2 of those kids, his kids, were hit by gunfire. That was a 10-year-old and 11-year-old who are still recovering at Children's Hospital today. Now, Chief Flynn went on to say that he has basically had enough with the violence going on in these communities, and now he is asking for every citizen to make it a point to make sure that they become a part of the solution and not the problem, that they are not snitching when they are telling the police exactly who it is, what it is that they need to get their communities back on the safe track. Let's go to a soundbite from earlier today. Okay, we're being told we don't have that soundbite, but again, Police Chief Flynn was here along with clergy from both Christ the King Church and Community Tabernacle Baptist Church. That was the church just this week where Sierra Guyton was funeralized. You know, she was the 10-year-old girl who was shot while simply playing on a playground and eventually succumbed to a gunshot bullet to the head. Now, again, Police Chief said that there will be a massive presence of police for the next 4 days in this neighborhood to let these neighbors know that they are safe and that the police is here for them. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Shannon Sims, today's TMJ4.
Shannon, the chief talked about arresting the driver of that van, apparently the father of some of the children who had fired apparently at somebody else. Was there any discussion of arresting someone who fired at the van, and presumably those bullets were the ones that struck the children?
Unfortunately, I don't have IFB, so it's very difficult for me to hear out in the field. But if you're still tuning in to me out here on the street, I want to tell you that we also learned the mother of those children had apparently just gotten custody of those children. And however, today when the city went to the home to check out the living conditions for that family, they had to condemn the home. Again, this is a sad and disturbing situation as we learn of yet another child being shot by a gun in the violence here in Milwaukee. As the chief mentioned earlier today, he was stating that there have actually been more than a dozen kids who have been shot since the beginning of the year. We've also learned from looking at some data from our I-team that that's a 47% increase from 2010. So again, it is unfortunate that many children here in Milwaukee are becoming a victim to the gun violence that is happening here. But the chief says that he has the backing of not only the community but the church, and he hopes to make a difference. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Shannon Sims, today's TMJ4.
All right, thank you, Shannon, and thank goodness the kids are going to be all right in this particular case, but still tragic and ridiculous that the shooting would occur in the first place.
13 children shot in the Milwaukee area over the past year or so, and we are very concerned. The community's concerned. A lot of people are outraged. We're going to take a look right now at where the shooting took place. This is at 36th and Hadley on the north side.